Hello, and welcome to Studio Ghibli Ranking. I'm going to be ranking every single one of the 14 Studio Ghibli movies that I have watched. And I started watching them after watching Schaefer-Ellis's productions. His first, or his Oscar animated, or Best Animated Picture, video. And I haven't stopped. I've watched 14. And disclaimer, I haven't disliked any of the movies. I haven't watched any of the really bad ones. So just don't take this as, oh, I hate the lower ranked ones. I don't. And I think there is varying quality, especially in this list, but that's just because the peak is so high for Ghibli movies, with some of the best movies I've ever seen being, or most of them being, Ghibli movies. So, yeah, let's move on. Number 14, Ocean Waves. Yes, this is Tonomi Mochizuki's, only Ghibli movie, and it was great. The romance was amazing, and the situations were a bit odd, but realistic. Doesn't really stand out, like some of the other lower ranked ones. Most of them are just it not standing out. But it does have one of the best soundtracks in Ghibli, without it being made by Joe Hisaishi, the Ghibli producer, basically. And yeah, it's great, as you can see on the screen. It's fairly realistic, but it is one of the more realistic Ghibli movies, because it's a down to earth romance, but it's very good. But I know it's a bad rating, and still it's better than most major animated American movies. And 13, we have Noshka of the Valley of the Wind. The action in this is just so good. The scale is amazing, especially at the end. But even though the action was amazing, it is one of the first Ghibli movies. And I think Ghibli, especially in the early days, does well with less action, just stories that let the characters shine. Even with this shining with characters, I think it's just better with minimal action. But I think the designs of characters and just the world is so good. And despite being the lowest Miyazaki movie on this list, I mean, he's still a legend, and it's good. It's very good. The animation, I mean, yeah, it's from the 1980s, but it looks so modern. And yeah, and I really like the little guy. You can see there. Really like him. It's very small. Next, we have Whisper of the Heart. It's actually the most recent one, as of this recording, that I have watched. I was worried, especially at the end, when the grandpa, saw the wife in the light. I thought he was dying. I would have actually died if he was dying. I would join him, basically. And that's just showing how good the characters were in this. And yeah, I think what you see on screen, the novel that Shizuku, the main character, is writing, like, the splices at the end of, like, her thoughts is just so good. And I think, like, everyone has that point, like Shizuku, that, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And it's just, it just, like, adds to it. It's perfect. Or it's, I mean, obviously, if it was perfect, it would be higher, but branding did confuse me. I thought it was going to be, like, an action movie, but I didn't really watch the trailers. I just saw the thing on HBO Max, or Max, I don't know what it is, and, like, I don't know, but I think Yuko and Sugimura, I think they were the worst part. I mean, they weren't bad part. There weren't much bad parts. I think it's a character-driven movie, like a lot of other ones, or a lot of the other ones. But I think those characters, I didn't like that much. Which, yeah, it's just not great, you know. But I think, yeah, it's a pretty good movie, and as I said, I will either die or murder someone if they killed off the grandpa, which they didn't. So please, government, please don't, please. 11. Howl's Moving Castle. I know this may be controversial. But I think it was a great movie, and it's another, like, mostly action one. It has a bigger scale. And as I said about Nausicaa, I think, I mean, this is more modern Ghibli. It's 2004, I do believe. And I think, I mean, the action is still great. Better than most, other movies. And I think Sophie, and Howl, I think they had great, chemistry. They had great moments. The end is just perfect with the gray area, and, in a gray area of becoming too perfectly wrapped up, and not perfectly at all, or not well-rounded at all. And I think that just helped it so much. It isn't really it doesn't stand out, in my opinion. I know some people might, not agree with that. I think it doesn't really stand out compared to a lot of other Ghibli movies. But as you can see, the field scene is probably the best part of this movie, and I think it makes it a bit better. And it's still one of the best, or it's still probably in my top, like, 25 movies of all time, despite being 11 on this list. I think it's still one of the top 30 at least best movies of all time. So yeah, but it's going to be beat by number 10. Yes, transitions, I know. And The Secret World of Arrietty, I think that's how you say it. I don't know. There's a problem with me. I've seen this in a lot of movies and games and shows that I've watched. Get attached to the clinically ill or the old, and it's going to be a problem. Or it's like, if they die, it emotionally wrecks me. Which I got really attached to Sean, who is clinically ill. So I was worried for a hot second. But the world, under the deck, and the scaling is just so good. Like, the little people going around the rooms and, like, going under the deck, and, like, it's just so good. Like, if the drama about if the outside world notices them, that it could destroy it is just amazing. It is Cecile Corbel. Sorry if I butchered that name. I'm not good at names. Was a perfect fit, I think. If you couldn't have Joe Hisaishi, I think they were a perfect fit because the music in this captures the feel of it. With just the natural feeling of the music. And I think it's a really good movie. And you can see the helps from Miyazaki. From this. But I think it's a very good movie. And Sean almost died. And will. Eventually. Number 9. The Wind Rises. 10 times the movie of Planes by Disney. Not Pixar, just Disney. But honestly, I wish it was as funny bad as Planes was, because this plane movie destroyed me from the inside and the core. I don't think it is one of the most popular. I don't think it's the most popular Ghibli movie or one of them, but it's amazing. And has some of the most iconic imagery, especially with, again, a field, the painting in the field. It's so good. And the dreams with the Italian engineer, in my opinion, I think were the weakest part. Even if it wasn't super weak, I think it was still the weaker part of it. But the one of the saddest parts in the Ghibli movie, not including Grave of the Fireflies, which we will talk about later, was just the ending bit. You get so attached, which is another problem with me. I got attached to another character with a clinical illness. You can see on the screen, she gets a clinical illness. I get attached to the romance between the main character and her, and it just the ending just, I mean, the dream, it was in a dream, but she died. It hurt me. I sunk into the couch. And yeah, it's a great movie, and especially if you're into 1920s Japan or planes, I guess, planes coming from earlier ages. I think it's perfect for you and for the people that really want it or really want this. Yeah, and I'm gonna go cry now. Bye. Just kidding. I'm back. And next we have Castle in the Sky. This might be another controversial one. I'm not sure. But yeah. It's, the scale goes up and down like a seesaw. And, it's a roller coaster of emotions, of stakes, and I think Dola's gang and Shita and Pazu's relationship, those two are the strong suits characters, and definitely as a less natural setting, I think Laputa, I think is just so stunning. And I mean, a bunch of other artists have already realized that, because it's fairly old. They've drawn so much from it, and I think this movie especially, and even though it's very old, um, it just shows how much talent there is in the studio, um, even in its early ages, and like this is just perfect, and the imagery from Pazu catching Sheeta is just so iconic with the glowing light and and their dynamic with Sheeta trying to like, I mean, she's been very sheltered during her life, and I think Pazu helping her like find, like, understand the real world, even though this is kind of crazy, um just it's so good, it's so good. Dola is so funny, so good, so chaotic, and Pazu's a little scrunkly, and it's so good, and even though it's not emotionally taxing like a lot of other movies, it's still phenomenal. And but next, we have six. Why is there a question mark? You may ask. Because we have a tie for sixth. Grave of the Fireflies and Kiki's Delivery Service are tied for sixth. 1 year apart. It was only 1 year apart that they came out. And they are completely different. I mean, Grave of the Fireflies isn't from Hayao Miyazaki. But I think it's so good. It's they're complete opposites. But what they were doing, it both is just perfect. Kiki is lighthearted and but can obviously have rough character dramas. And Kiki succeeds in a different way, or than Grave of the Fireflies, by just being so lighthearted that it just like catches you off guard when like Kiki has the crash, and like it's where they were going with it. I think is just so good, and it's the easiest movie to get through that I've watched for Ghibli. But it's just perfect, for a lighthearted movie, but Grave of Fireflies is probably the most mature one, but I don't think got the PG-13 rating, that Princess Mononoke got. It's just a roller coaster of emotions. The Fireflies are beautiful, and like it's a war film about World War II in Japan, and it just there's a lot of death and decay, bombing, and so much sickness and sadness. It's heartbreaking. Like it shows how much death there was, and there is. It's so sad. I actually watched it during a free period in school 1 year, and I should not have watched it during that time, because it hurt. Pain and suffering of Grave of Fireflies, and the delight of Kiki's Delivery Service perfectly contrast. And I mean, despite these movies only being a year apart, they're so different, but they're just so good in their own ways that they perfectly balance each other out, and become the joint sixth best movies in Ghibli. But you can argue they could be joint seventh, but I think joint seventh would be for bad movies. I think Joint 6 makes them both better, like, I guess in the rating. And just the roller coaster of emotions. If you watch Kiki's, and then if you go on a marathon, watch it slightly out of order, because I'm pretty sure Grave of the Fireflies came out first. If you watch it, Kiki's, and then Grave of the Fireflies, it will destroy you. It goes from, oh, happy, witch, and then, boom, death. Yeah. Next, we have another mature movie. You could guess from that. Princess Mononoke. Every last second of this, it's just rough. And it's the only PG-13. I think Grave of Fireflies is more adult. I think this is perfect for PG-13. It definitely earns it, because there's a lot of murder and the blood and the rough topics. And the war between the humans, the wolves, and the boars is just so good. There's so much fighting and death, and maybe I just like death. That might be a problem. But it's so good. The animation on the demons when it's like taking over the boars and it's like moving around. It looks so good, and if I'm mentioning the animation, it must be stunning. So I haven't mentioned the animation that much. But that's because every Ghibli movie is amazingly animated. And if I'm mentioning the animation, it must be amazing. The action with San infiltrating the human village and the boars just being boars, I think is so good. Probably the best action, I would say, in Ghibli's catalog. I think Ashitaka shines, I think, as the main character. Just, he keeps persevering, man. His arm's messed up, his deer's getting roughed up, he's getting murdered and stuff, I guess. It's really good, and I feel like I've seen like a pool of blood. I feel like I'm gonna wake up and feel like I'm gonna like drown in blood after watching this. So take that as what you will. Number 4, another very odd switch. Ponyo. It's another lighthearted film. It's based off The Little Mermaid, which I did not know until researching for this video. I didn't know that it was based off The Little Mermaid, because just how Miyazaki spins it, so it's just so original, despite being based off another book, I guess, is so good. And like the childlike dynamic with Ponyo and Sasuke is just so good. It just like, ooh, it's so they're both child. They're like both 5, and I'm glad that they didn't go the romance way, which a lot of animated, especially older animated movies went for. They went for the romance version, which, like, I don't know about that. And I'm so glad that Miyazaki didn't go that way. Because, like, look at this picture. Like, I feel like some other studios, not naming which, because I don't know, some other studios would, have it maybe aged a bit older, and have a romance involved. But that's just me. Like, Ponyo literally becomes a human from looking Sasuke, I guess. And freaking enjoys it. She's just trying to live a human life while being so, like, energetic. She's just trying to do normal things. In this house, I don't have a picture of it, but this house, only house in the neighborhood, just having, like, on a cliff. It's so beautiful. And the boats are great. Yeah. And the water. I've seen some good water in my days. I've watched Pixar movies. Okay, I've seen some good water, but this water's pretty good. And yeah, Miyazaki just continues his dominance of the animation industry. Yeah. So Fish movie go burr. Number 3. Not a fish movie. Dime from the most iconic, I would say, Ghibli movie. Not My Neighbor Totoro. It is the most iconic. Just because of, like, it's Totoro. He is probably the most iconic. The Totoros are probably the most iconic characters maybe to ever come out of films, just in general. But this movie isn't really about Totoro. It's about this family. I got really attached to the family. But still, when the child, I forget her name, was missing, I really wanted her to just be floating in a river dead. That might be something said about me, as I said. I like seeing, or I like thinking about the worst possible situations to make it feel better. The Dust Bunnies, I believe, were introduced in this movie, and I think it's also a very iconic set of characters from it, and it's just charming with all the characters. This photo that I have up here is so iconic. Totoro is iconic. It's the logo. It's the mascot of the goddamn company. And, like, and also the cat bus. Oh, the cat bus. The cat bus is so weird. I love it when it mutilates. Does it, with its skin, does it have bones? Oh, God, we need to call Matt Pat for this one. Can he do the one about how the cat bus mutilates like that? Like, it's just like, ugh. Oh, okay, sorry. Anyways, this movie is amazing, and you need to watch it now, if you haven't already. And next, number 2, The Tale of Princess Kaguya. This movie has the best animation ever, I believe, in an animated movie. It's so beautiful. It's so original. It's not just hand drawn. You can see it here. It's so beautiful. The lines are so beautiful, and I'm not an artist. I know I'm talking about anime movies right now. I'm raving about how good the animation is. I'm not an artist. I like to say that I have an artist brain, but I can't draw. Yeah. The story is very small, but it's so tragic, or it's so rough, and I mean until the end, of the movie, it's a smaller scale, um, story, and because the moon very yoinks her, it just takes out of you, um, like this family raised her, um, grew up fast, and like this hand drawnness. I don't know if that's a word, but the hand drawnness of this movie is so good, and it cannot be topped. I do believe it cannot be topped by a movie that has a normal 2D art style, or a or is 3D animated, or even non drawn 2D. I think that I don't think it can be topped. Just from how this looks, how the colors look, it's so beautiful. And the noblemen, were just so unlikable, but perfectly unlikable, that you didn't wish for Geigo to have romance. You just wished for her to do what she wants and be, not really noble. Um, and like, I just wants to be a normal human. I mean, is she a human? We have to think about this for a second. Is she a human? Like, moon person? Moon guy? Moon. Human. I don't know. Thing. But at the end, when the moon yoinks her, it was, when I was watching this for the first time, it was late in the day. I had school, the, in the day, so I was tired, and at the end of it, I sank into the couch. I sank into everything. The couch. It destroyed me. And it was the last movie by Isao Takahata, who made Grave of the Fireflies, which, if you remember, it's number 6 in this list. It has a good track record, and and he helped out with a lot of Ghibli movies, and this movie is my personal second favorite movie of all time. And it's only number 2. So guess what my number 1 favorite movie of all time is? Oh no, it's the number 1. Ghibli rounds out probably the top. I feel like Into the Spider-Verse and Totoro will probably be battling for that number 1 spot. Or number 3 spot, sorry. It's only number 2. What's gonna be number 1? Number 1! Spirited Away. This movie, in my opinion, is in the unrivaled best movie of all time, and my favorite movie of all time. Chihiro and Haku's chemistry is perfect. The way it builds up in, I guess, like likability for especially Haku. The world building is just, oh my god, it's so good. You know this movie. You know, you feel like you're in this world. You feel like you're experiencing it. And the animation is impeccable as always. I think the different character designs is just adds to this movie so much. And it's made a lot of iconic characters with Haku in dragon form, No Face, Yubaba, which I just thought of. That wasn't even in my script. I just thought of by looking at her, and like the sadder character moments just hit so incredibly hard. Like this one at the beginning. It's so rough. And like can't describe it. Yubaba is frightening. And another thing of the dust bunnies, and her baby. Yubaba's baby is so incredibly disgusting. I hate him until he turns into a rat. That was kind of funny. Yeah, as you can see there, perfect time. Ending is just it's in the same gray area as Howl's Moving Castle. That it's just puts it in so perfectly. And I cannot put into words, even though I have. I cannot put into more words. I wish I could, but I just can't. To how good this movie is, and how much I love this movie, how much I love Joe Hisashi, how much I love Miyazaki. Totally not a romantic way, because they are old. They're old men, but it's so good. Some of the most iconic images from anime movies have come out from this train image. Chiro riding Hanku, not the way you think. And the house, which I actually have in my background, it's very good. And yeah, it's just so good. It's so good. Cannot describe it more. I wish I could. And thank you for how that get there. I don't think that. Ignore the bottom left. Thank you for watching, and please comment below. If you have any suggestions, if you like this video, please say what you liked. This is probably my biggest project yet. This is the first time actually having a script. I guess it's not a direct script, but it's just bullet points, I guess. And if you have any suggestions for what can make this better, because I want to improve. I want to try to do better. And thank you to everyone in Studio Ghibli, or has been in Ghibli. These movies are so good, and every time I watch it, it makes my day. Unless it is very sad, it destroys me in the core. And as I said in the beginning, just so you don't forget, all these 14 movies I loved, and don't take it as the 14th movie is terrible. You should watch all these movies if you can. Obviously, I don't want people pirating. I don't like piracy. But yeah, please, thank you so much for getting through this video. And please, as I said, watch the Ghibli movies, even though I've spoiled them a bit. I don't know how much I've spoiled them, but I have spoiled them a bit, so sorry about that. And as I get, thank you.